In the glittering corridors of Hollywood, few names commanded the kind of reverence Johnny Depp once did. He was the epitome of cool, a chameleon on screen, effortlessly shifting from the eccentric Captain Jack Sparrow to the hauntingly quiet Edward Scissorhands. With every performance, he didn't just act, he transformed. And for decades, the world adored him. But in 2016, the applause began to fade. What began as whispers in the tabloids soon became thunderous headlines. Depp's tumultuous relationship with actress Amber Heard took center stage, and not in the way Hollywood prefers. Once hailed as the mysterious artist who avoided drama, Johnny was suddenly portrayed as the villain in a real-life courtroom saga that felt stranger than fiction. It started with divorce papers, but it quickly escalated. Amber accused him of domestic abuse, photos were leaked, stories spread like wildfire. Overnight, Johnny Depp, the beloved anti-hero of modern cinema, became a headline for all the wrong reasons. The industry that once cheered him began to retreat. Disney dropped him from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise without hesitation. Warner Bros. Quietly distanced itself from his projects. Brands cancelled deals. His name was no longer announced with pride but with a warning label. And as he walked into courtrooms, often dressed sharply in his signature charcoal grey three-piece suit, silver rings glinting on his fingers, he didn't just look like a man defending his honor. He looked like a legend standing on trial. Behind those tinted sunglasses, it was hard to tell what he truly felt. But those who knew Johnny, or thought they did, could see it: the pain, the betrayal, the isolation. This wasn't just a legal battle, it was an unraveling of everything he had built. The media circled like vultures. Social media was a battlefield. Hashtags demanding his cancellation clashed with voices trying to defend him. Every video clip, every leaked recording, every courtroom expression was dissected by millions. For most celebrities, such a fall would be fatal. Careers have crumbled for far less, but there was something different about Johnny. Maybe it was the unwavering love from his loyal fans, or the fact that people sensed there was more to the story. Still, the damage was undeniable. He lost movie after movie. Big budget productions didn't want the risk. Friends in the industry went silent. He became a ghost in Hollywood, present, but not welcome. All the while, Amber Heard continued her media appearances, speaking as a survivor, while Johnny remained mostly silent. But silence doesn't mean surrender. Johnny's inner circle began to speak. Former partners like Vanessa Paradis and Winona Ryder came forward, defending his character. They painted a very different picture of the man they had known for years. Loyal, kind, gentle, not a monster, and slowly recordings emerged, evidence that challenged the public narrative. Audio clips revealed a different side to the story. Suddenly, the world wasn't so sure anymore. The tide had begun to shift, even if the waves were slow. Still, through it all, Depp remained stoic. Always appearing in court dressed the same dark tailored suit, leather boots, hair tied or flowing loosely, rings stacked on his fingers like armor. His look became symbolic. A man walking into battle with the only shield he had left: his dignity. He had every reason to disappear. Many expected he would. But that's not Johnny Depp. For him, truth wasn't just a word, it was a mission. And though he had been knocked down, he wasn't out. But make no mistake, this was the darkest chapter of his life. In interviews, those close to him revealed his struggles with insomnia, anxiety, depression. He stayed out of public events, lived quietly, often in Europe. Painted, played music, wrote, anything to stay connected to his art while his world spun out of control. And through it all, millions of fans stayed loyal. The hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp began trending regularly. Fan accounts dissected every courtroom moment, building timelines and exposing inconsistencies. Memes, videos, compilations went viral. For the first time in pop culture history, the courtroom became a stage and Johnny's supporters took on the role of the jury. But the scars were real. He had lost nearly everything: his career, his reputation, even parts of his identity. And though whispers of a counter-lawsuit had begun to swirl, the road to redemption seemed nearly impossible. Hollywood has a short memory. Still, Johnny kept showing up. Not for the cameras, not for applause, but for truth. Always in that same iconic style. A man of habit, a symbol of rebellion, a fading rock star refusing to fade quietly. He may have lost roles, but he never lost character. And that, even in the chaos, was the beginning of something new. The comeback hadn't started yet, but the fight had. Courtrooms aren't made for legends. They're built for facts, laws, and procedures. But when Johnny Depp entered the Fairfax County Courthouse in 2022, the world didn't see just another lawsuit, it saw history being written in real time. Johnny Depp, dressed in his signature charcoal, grey three-piece suit, black shirt slightly unbuttoned, silver rings flashing under the harsh hallway lights, wasn't just defending himself. He was confronting years of public shaming, lost contracts, and silent betrayals. Behind his tinted round sunglasses, a storm brewed, calm on the surface, but fierce within. The courtroom was packed, not just with lawyers and media personnel, but with the eyes of millions across the globe. Live streams ran daily. TikTok exploded with every glance, every raised eyebrow, every whispered exchange. The public didn't just watch, they analyzed, edited, mimed, and supported. Johnny wasn't alone this time. From the first day, it was clear this wasn't a typical defamation trial. It was a reckoning. A chance for Johnny Depp to tell his side of the story. After years of silence, of being painted as a monster by tabloids, he finally had the stage under oath, with the world watching. He spoke slowly, thoughtfully. No drama, no flair. Just facts. He admitted his faults, the drinking, the drugs, the dark times. But he never strayed from one consistent message: I never laid a hand on her. Then came the evidence. Audio recordings played out loud. Heard's own voice admitting to hitting him, mocking him, telling him no one would believe he was the victim. It was a bombshell. The narrative began to unravel. The internet erupted. Hashtags like "for justice for Johnny Depp" and "Faye Amber Heard as an abuser" began trending worldwide. For every moment Amber tried to maintain her story, the online world countered with breakdowns, fact checks. Trial by jury had met trial by internet. Johnny sat through it all, day after day, same suit, same boots, same quiet dignity. His legal team, led by Camille Vasquez, delivered clinical, focused arguments. And every time Depp laughed, winced, or raised an eyebrow, the world reacted. Fan edits turned courtroom moments into viral clips with millions of views. The case wasn't just about reputation anymore, it had become a global event. Amber Heard testified too, but something had shifted. The sincerity the media once believed in now felt staged to many. Her cross-examination raised more questions than answers. The inconsistencies piled up. And as her story faltered, Johnny's truth felt stronger. Celebrities began to like pro-Depp posts. Influencers posted long breakdowns of court transcripts. Even people who didn't follow Hollywood started tuning in. This wasn't just about two actors. It had become a symbol of justice, of truth, of public voice versus media control. Behind the headlines, Johnny maintained his quiet, unshaken presence. During breaks, he sketched in a notebook, greeted fans with waves and smiles, signed guitars, took photos, never bitter, always composed. The court sessions were exhausting, but Johnny never missed a day. The tide was turning fast. Even legacy media outlets began questioning the original narrative. Some issued quiet corrections. Others simply stopped reporting altogether. But the internet didn't stop. Millions had chosen a side, and it wasn't the one Hollywood had expected. As testimonies wrapped up and closing arguments were delivered, the tension was global. A verdict would come soon. But many already knew what mattered most: the truth was out. When the jury ruled in Johnny's favor, awarding him millions in damages, the world celebrated. He didn't cry, he didn't gloat, he simply smiled. Outside the courthouse, fans screamed. Car horns honked. Online, the celebrations exploded. Artists made tribute posters. Filmmakers began openly expressing interest in working with him again. His name, once whispered in caution, was now shouted in pride. Johnny Depp had done what few thought possible. He won a public war in an age of cancel culture. Not with outrage, but with facts. Not with press conferences, but with patience. He walked out of that courthouse like a man reborn. Still in his charcoal suit, still silent, still Johnny. But this time the world saw him differently. The fight was over. The healing had begun. When Johnny Depp stepped out of the courtroom victorious, it wasn't just a legal win. It was a cultural moment. A signal that redemption was possible in an era that rarely offers second chances. And for Depp, now in his late 50s, the victory marked the beginning of a new chapter, one written on his own terms. He didn't return to Hollywood with fireworks or headlines. Instead, he reappeared exactly as his fans remembered: calm, grounded, and sharply dressed. The charcoal gray three-piece suit, the open black shirt, silver rings glinting under the sun, and those ever-present tinted sunglasses. Time had passed, but his essence hadn't changed. While the world buzzed about the verdict, Johnny quietly boarded a plane to Europe. He didn't go to LA, parties or studio meetings. He went to art galleries, bookstores, and music studios. He visited old friends and played guitar at hidden venues. For him, this wasn't about bouncing back to blockbuster fame. It was about reclaiming identity. Dia, one of the few brands that had stood by him during the storm, doubled down on their support. In an industry known for dropping names at the first sign of controversy, Dia made a bold statement. They signed Johnny to a record-breaking multi-year deal. The Sauvage campaign relaunched with global fervor, featuring haunting cinematic ads of Depp walking through the desert, his same charcoal suit catching the fading sunlight, looking like a mythic figure. The public response was electric. Sales of the fragrance skyrocketed, billboards returned. Social media exploded with admiration. People weren't just buying a scent, they were backing a man. Then came Cannes. In 2023, Johnny Depp walked the red carpet at the Cannes Film Festival, hand in hand with French filmmaker Ma Wen, for the premiere of Jeanne du Barry. It was his first major film since the trial. The crowd erupted. Inside the theater after the screening, he received a 7-minute standing ovation. The camera caught him tearing up. He bowed his head, clapped his hands together, smiled. Not a movie star moment, a human moment, real, honest. Hollywood began to whisper again, but this time with curiosity. Would he return? Would he star in another blockbuster? Would he forgive the industry that had abandoned him? But Johnny had different plans. He wasn't chasing fame anymore, he was curating meaning. He directed again, picked smaller, independent films, collaborated with artists and musicians, painted, wrote poetry. For the first time in decades, he was creating without compromise. In interviews, his tone was different, softer, reflective. There was no bitterness, only gratitude. "I'm not angry," he said in one European press event. "I'm free." He talked about silence, solitude, and truth. About living in a world that sometimes doesn't wait to listen. About how pain can be an artist's greatest teacher. And through it all, he remained Johnny, dressed in that same timeless suit, boots worn in from years of use, silver rings like scars turned to art. Social media embraced him like never before. Fan art flooded platforms. Documentaries were made, songs dedicated. For younger generations, he became a symbol of resilience. For older ones, a reminder that legends don't fade, they evolve. He didn't need Hollywood. In fact, many argued he was better without it. Still, studios began to call again. Projects were offered, streaming giants made proposals. And while he was selective, he accepted some. But on one condition: full creative control. He spoke openly about what he endured, not as a victim but as someone who survived. And more importantly, as someone who grew. Johnny Depp became more than a comeback story. He became a case study in public redemption. A reminder that truth doesn't always scream, sometimes it whispers, patiently waiting to be heard. Now, years after the courtroom battles, he walks through Paris, London, Berlin, not as a scandalized celebrity but as a redefined artist. Fans greet him not with pity, but with admiration. He signs autographs, smiles for photos, nods graciously. Always in that same style: charcoal gray suit, black shirt, silver rings, messy shoulder-length hair tucked behind tinted glasses. Because some things don't need to change. Some icons remain eternal, and in the story of Johnny Depp, the fall was dramatic, the fight was intense, but the rise was poetic. Charcoal suit, black shirt, boots, painting quietly by a window. Soft morning light, coffee cup beside him, relaxed expression, timeless atmosphere.